Narita and Haneda Airport start full-scale facial recognition. This was at the start of the week. These are, I believe, NEC machines. This is part of the huge fuss I think that NEC has been having with the Japanese government, that have been contracting all these. I told about these IT development horror stories that have been going on. Of course, facial recognition I find fascinating because I work in, it has to do with my work anyway, and it comes up. And, I have to consider, what are the potential. In Japan, it isn't really regulated at all. In America, it's like in Europe, there are like cities and states that are saying we're banning all facial recognition, and that's it, like blanket bans on it everywhere, and people saying, I don't want facial recognition anywhere near me, and there are blanket, facial recognition free zones and so on. Nothing like that at all in Japan. No sort of knee-jerk reactions like that, and of course they're rolling it out at the airports. I am biased, and I'll say that in advance. I'm biased in favor of the technology. Not from the perspective that I think we should be living like in a dystopian sort of China where everything you do is tracked and tagged or anything like that. But I do think, for example, at airports which have facial recognition-based automated check-in systems, from my experiences of traveling to America, if I was given the choice between going through a facial recognition system that was based off my passport photo, or even a better photo that was taken of me, that let me just stand in front of a machine and, even maybe answer some questions and then go through with the same questions I'd do normally, I would pick the machine over the TSA worker like all day long, right? Like, that would be for my own personal convenience. And sure, they want to do the security check. Another problem I have with the idea of people being against facial recognition is that all the facial recognition does is it automates what people do. I'm thinking back to when when Kim Jong-sam, the son of Kim Jong-il, got into Japan to go to Disneyland, and he came in on a Dominican Republic, or was it Dominican passport? And the person at customs recognized, wait, you are the son of Kim Jong-il, which is kind of, to me, amazing that you would actually recognize someone as being a child of the North Korean dictator. But, that was facial recognition done by a human. And, yes, there are issues with the technology, including, different biases, including it being misconfigured lots of times and false positives, and people afraid of being arrested based on false recognition, or just being tracked, and living in a police state. I get all of that. But at the same time, I think there are legitimate use cases for it. Again, I'm biased in favor of it. I don't think it should be free of rules and regulation. There should be lots of rules of how it's used. There's particularly rules to make sure that you don't turn down the recognition algorithms on it, there should be rules about, to ensure the accuracy and utility, and that it shouldn't just be used on its own as a source. You shouldn't be able to arrest people purely off it. But I'll tell you what, there are some good cases for it too. There are cases, like I just said, for getting through an airport queue for my own convenience. There's other cases as well where they put these things in airports, and they actually help to recover kidnapped kids. And people being human trafficked, basically human slavery, right? Sex trafficking and sex slavery. You just have to have a captured image, and even of a child, you can actually project into the future. You can actually detect when maybe adults wouldn't check, and flag people and recover people. And this is something that's actually happened. So again, the idea that you would ban facial recognition when it might be able to recover kidnapped kids, when humans might not be able to do it. Like I say, so long as it's known and well, I think actually it's reasonable at things like borders to actually have it. You want to capture wanted criminals, and you want to flag people who are on terror watch lists. You don't know that they would have always caught Kim Jong-il's child traveling into Japan, going to Disneyland on a Dominican passport. And certainly the idea of being able to capture trafficked children and so on, there are legitimate cases for it. Sure, there are cases of abuse, or where the technology is not good enough, or it's being used inappropriately. But personally, I think this is good. And I I also remember how when the West, as opposed to Russia, when the West went invading Afghanistan, people sort of would make fun in a way of about the superstition that Pashtuns apparently have of not wanting believing that if their photo was taken, it would capture their soul, and how this was sort of something that was just generally mocked for a time in social media. But yet, I don't know, I feel like in a way, well, one, maybe the Pashtuns had it right, not letting anyone take their photos. That's probably how so many managed to avoid detention for a long time. But it's funny how now, like with the anti-masking thing, people being afraid of other people wearing masks and so on, as well as, of course, the facial recognition thing. Perhaps there is something psychologically basically, maybe people are not so different to the Taliban deep down. I don't know. But from my perspective, used in the right way, and this is the right way, I would take the facial recognition cue all the time. Now, of course, I'm a middle-aged, white person, so you could argue I have the least to fear from a system like this. But still, I think the idea of just blanket, universally, blindly demonizing a technology that's just basically automating something that people do is just dumb. Sure, regulate it. Think about when it is and isn't useful and what the guidelines for it are. But just saying, no facial recognition just doesn't make, any rational sense. It's Luddite to me. So, good system. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to 100 you already get through pretty fast, but narrator the queues can take a wee while. So I'm looking forward to seeing the sort of technology because I hate spending time in airports and I just want to get through them. That's just me. Aaron, seems like it could make an airport experience smoother. No one wants to get that TSA agent who's having a bad day. Am I right? Indeed not. In America, I remember when I went to America, they really make you take off your shoes. For Americans, I realize I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. But for me, when they told me to take off my shoes, I was like, oh, are you actually serious? I thought it was a joke. I'm like, oh, where's the prank videos? That just sucks. And apparently, lately I've gotten into a bit of a binge of watching Travel Trek, I think it's called, a guy who just reviews business and first class flying. And he points out that in America, apart from the fact that what's called first class in America is business class, and like the rest of the world, it's not very good. You don't get any avoidance of the security checks or anything there. So, yeah.